Okay, so we are going to start on our second block for the month, and this is month 9. It's called Pocahontas. I thought it was really a pretty block, and so there's one thing that I would like you to do before you start doing all of your template cutting. So we've done this once before. It's the 16 plus 16, and they give you all of the instructions right here, okay? So what you're going to do is cut yourself a strip off of the piece that you are given. It's called a scant 3 1/4. So when we say scant, we mean like 1 or 2 threads smaller than 1/4. If we said a generous 3 1/4, it would be a little bit more. So we did have some questions about that. So what I'm going to do is show you how you would do that. You're going to lay out your piece. You're going to take your template 16. So I want you to look at the orientation of the template on this piece right here. So here's my line right here. Here's the line. So I'm going to line this side up like this, just like the picture. My thing's going like this. You are going to cut this angle right here. So when you cut it, you're going to have a piece that looks like this. Okay, so you're going to have that angle. Then what you're going to do is take a regular ruler and you're going to line the straight line here, and you're going to be cutting here a scant 3 1/4. So look at your pictures. It will show you how to do it, and that will make this template for you. Then what you're going to do is lay your template on the piece you cut out like this, and you're going to cut off that little tip right there. And then you would turn it and cut off the tip over here. And you are going to be cutting 4 of those units. Okay, so in step 1 of this, we are going to be taking these little small number 6 triangles, and we're using fabric C and fabric F. And you're going to sew them together like this, and I ironed these towards the gray unit. So you are going to make 8 of these units, and so I've got all my little pieces here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to add it to this little square right here. Okay, so it's a number 5 square, and I want you to look at the orientation of this color. So we have the gray here. We don't want to put this piece of gray next to that. So we're going to sew this little piece right now. And I'm going to put it into there. Now, I do not sew over the pin when it's going this direction, but I'm still going to hold it here until I'm ready to just go right where the pin was. Okay, so we are going to make 4 that are this color, like this. It's going to end up just like this, and I ironed this towards the gray. And then we are also going to make 4 that have your fabric E. So they both have the same orientation of this little 6 triangle, the colored one, but you're going to end up with 4 of each of these. So in step 3, what we're going to do is take those little triangle square units that we made, and we're going to put them together like this. So you're going to have your square up here, the square up here. It almost looks like a little butterfly. So we're going, and then they're both ironed towards the little square. So when I go to sew it, it's really easy to make that seam match really nice. So we're going to put this under here. So I'm going to take my pin out. I'm going to use my stiletto to hold it since I pinned it the opposite direction. And I'm just going to make sure that this stays really nice. And then we are going to make 4 of these, and it's going to look like this. Open up. There we go. Just like that. Doesn't that kind of look like a little butterfly? So now we're going to move on to step 4, and we're going to take that 16 plus 16 that you cut out at the beginning before we started step 1, and we're going to add these little side triangles. So I want you to look at your picture and make sure, so when you do it, the large part of this little side triangle goes to the point there. It doesn't go down here. I know sometimes we do it the opposite direction, but we're going to sew this, and I'll show you then like what we do after that. So I'm going to start up here. I always like to start at the big tip, not the piece that has a little point. And so after we sew this and we open it up, I ironed it towards the gray, and it's going to look like this. And then the next part that they want you to do is to take the other color of the 17 and sew it to the opposite end. Now I'm not going to sew it for you right now because we're going to sew it the same direction, but what you're going to end up with is one gray on top and one blue on the bottom. Now if you wanted to sew both of your gray ones at the same time and then both of your blue ones, you are welcome to do that. I'm just showing you in the order that they did. So what I'm going to end up with is 4 pieces that look like this. So we have our dark blue, gray, gray, and they're going to look like this. They should end up 3.5 by 6.5 inches. Okay, we're going to move on to step 5, and what we're going to take is another one of these little 6 triangles like this, and we're going to add it to 20C, and we're going to sew this area right here. So we're going to sew that together. Let me get it in here. You'll notice that my little cheater strip that I'm using is one of the fabrics that we use in Rise and Shine. Okay, so we're going to make this. I ironed it towards the small triangle, and I do believe that they tell you to do that. So you're going to have it like this. You're going to make 4 of these units. And then what we're going to do to that unit is we're going to add it to this square. It's the 15D. It's a very large square, so it's only going to line up that way. It won't line up any other way. And we're going to sew this and get it going. We're going to end up sewing 4 of these to this square unit, and usually what you do is you sew opposite sides and iron them, and then you do the 2 opposite sides after that. So we have this, and I have one here for you to show you. I ironed it towards the triangle unit, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have the 2 of them. We sew the 3rd one on, and then we're going to have the 4th one, and it's going to end up looking like this. So we have 4 triangle units right here and your big square in the middle. It is 6.5 by 6.5 inches. Okay, for step 7, we have a couple of different things to do. We've already made all of our pieces, but now we're going to put them together. So this little, I call it the butterfly unit, is going to go on the edge of this. I want you to notice the orientation of the gray. All the grays should be on the outside like this. So I did pin this. I went through where my seam is right there where they meet, and I went through the point over here on this one. So I left my pin in so that I could make sure that I make a nice even seam. So let me start with this little cheater's piece. So as I get to my pin, you can see it looks like it's a little farther down than what a 1/4 inch is, but I'm going to have to make my seam there if I want my points to look pretty. And then when I put my squares together, I need to accommodate that. Okay, we're going to cut this off. Okay, so this is going to be like this. And see how pretty you can make your points when you do that. And I put on my notes here that I press that seam open. So this seam right here, I would press open, and the reason being I have a big bunch right here where those meet, and then a big bunch right here, and I don't want that big clunk underneath there, so I'm going to press it open like that. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side, and we're going to make 2 of these units. We still have 2 of this piece left right here. What we're going to do is sew those to that middle square that we did, and it's going to go like this. So again, the orientation for this is the gray goes on the outside. So I'm not going to sew that for you right now, but I'm just going to show you. Here's a finished one of these. It's going to be 3.5 by 12.5. All of my grays are on the outside, and then you are going to take your middle block. We're going to pretend that's not on there, and the 2 squares like this that you have left, they go on the center. So you'll have this center unit here, you'll have 2 of this unit, and you sew them all together like it shows in the picture. So you have this unit, then you have the center unit, and this unit again. And those, this seam right here, this seam, I ironed all of those towards the square in the middle. So you can see here how I ironed them all towards the center. And there is your beautiful Pocahontas.